An intense Korean action movie about escaping from North Korea. Let's talk about Escape. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. I'm here to talk to you about Escape, which came to theaters on July 5th, 2024. I'm a little bit behind, but I am excited to talk about it. It is a really good thriller. It is a fun Korean action movie about a North Korean soldier who is trying to escape to the South and the crazy experiences that he went through. It is an action movie. It is a drama. Don't know if it's based on anything real, but it is still an exciting experience. My hot take is I definitely think you should watch it. It is just a wonderful action intrigue film with some really great tension, just a really good like set and feel to it, some really amazing lighting, and some good action as well. So I definitely think you should check it out. If it's still in theaters, check it out in theaters. If not, wait for it to come to streaming on demand, but it's definitely something you should see. So I'm gonna tell you a little about the film, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into like a recap. So if you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off when I get to the recap section. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. Let you know when I get to those spoilers. So Escape deals with Sergeant Lim, who, after a decade of military service, which is what is required for North Koreans, he is about to leave when something happens that rearranges his life and also reunites him with someone he hadn't seen in a long time. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, I love the tension. This is a tense movie. There's a lot of scenes where you don't know what's going to happen, both with a person trying to escape and also with some of the intrigue that happens between some of the characters. There are plenty of times when you are left holding your breath, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really well done. The second thing I love the action. There's not a lot of action in this movie, but you do get some really good action sequences. You get some car sequences, you get some hand-to-hand and some gunfire sequences. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice way to up the ante at certain points. It's not throughout. Again, like I said, it's a very tense movie, so there's a lot of times when you expect action, but maybe you're not sure what's going to happen. But when the action does happen, it's pretty good. The third thing I love the sets. I mean, I don't know what North Korea looks like. I assume this wasn't filmed in North Korea. I don't know if you could make a movie in North Korea and export it, but I thought it did a nice job of like showing what North Korea might be like, and like at least having like some accurate looking sets and some accurate looking uniforms. I don't know anything about North Korean military. I don't know anything about their structure or whatnot, but for me, it was fun to kind of like see. And I thought I looked good enough to escape in the movie. And the last thing I love the lighting. There are some scenes where the light is very, very important, especially towards the end. I thought they were really good. It helps to emphasize the tension, helps to emphasize like the struggle and things like that. So, all that being said, things I didn't love as much. I mean, there's really only one thing. It's not major at all. There is, I'll call it like some superhero villain stuff. What the antagonist in this movie is pretty much a superhero. Like he appears at times, he kind of like is able to do things that like not like overt, like he's not like super strong, he doesn't like jump, 1,000 feet, but he is able to keep up when it doesn't seem like he would be able to. So it makes for an antagonist that follows us throughout the movie. It makes for some exciting scenes, but it does at times feel unrealistic. So all that being said, Escape comes to theaters on July 5th, 2024. Like I said, I think you should watch it. It is a good movie. It is a fun action movie. It is an intense movie. So definitely check it out in theaters. If you do see it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And I'm going to go into a quick recap. So if you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So this film mainly focuses on Sergeant Lim, who, after a decade of military service, is about to get out. He's about to leave. And part of this is like people aren't really sure what's going to happen. Like, you're in the military, you're making a decent wage, you're kind of required to do what the North Korean government wants you to do. But after that, there really aren't a ton of options unless you like have connections in the government or whatnot. He's not sure if he's going to like go farm or go work in a mine. There's not really a ton open for him. But Sergeant Lim has a plan. He is planning to escape to the south. He has everything mapped out. His base is near the North Korean, South Korean border. He has been sneaking out at night, like mapping out what he's going to do, finding like the right trail, marking mines. So while he is planning this, we also find out that Sergeant Lim is also, really like a good person and cares about his men. They're out on patrol one time, and a boar apparently walked on the mine and blew up. And so they took the boar, brought it back, and were cooking it for their men because they don't really get great rations. They don't get a ton of meat. So he was going to cook this up and give it to his men so they could eat. Now, unfortunately, his leadership saw this. They confiscated the boar and then fed it to themselves, so the men didn't get anything about it. But even then, Sergeant Lim was helping to serve the boar, and he snuck some meat away for his men. So he definitely seems like a good person. Now, his plan seems to be going well. He seems to be getting ready to go. But one day, this person, Dong Cook, comes up to him and asks if he's going to defect. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, no, of course not. And he's like, I saw everything. I saw what you did. Like, take me with you. I want to see my mom who's in the South. Now, Sergeant Lim basically says, no, like, what are you talking about? No way. But that night, Dong-hyuk seems to take the initiative here and tries to escape without Sergeant Lim. And, Sergeant Lim's been very careful. Dong-hyuk is not as careful. And so he gets discovered pretty quickly, at least discovered that someone is out. Everyone goes to look for him. And Sergeant Lim, since he knows the route, ends up finding him. But he gets found with him, and they both get arrested as deserters. They both get arrested as like trying to desert. And a special agent, a state security person, is called in, Field Officer Lee, who comes to investigate. Now, what you don't know is that Lee and Lim are old friends, or at least old, like, I think their parents were friends, and so they knew each other growing up. And so it's very fortuitous that Lee got there. He gets the investigation. He sees all the evidence and basically is like, there's no evidence against Lim. What are you talking about? Like, he caught the person. Why are you trying to like put him on trial? And his leadership, Lim's leadership, is like, well, they were caught together. They are clearly conspiring, blah, blah. And Lee basically overrides them, says, we should be honoring him as a hero. He caught the deserter. So Lee basically takes him with him back to, the capital, back to like his base, where now Lim is hailed as a hero. He goes to this big ceremony. He gets reassigned to a high-ranking official here. He gets an award. Seems like it would be a great thing. Seems like his friend is looking out for him, but not what Lim wanted. Lim wanted to escape. He wanted to be free. And so this is, even worse because he's now like in the middle of the country. He's now like in a place where he can't have any freedom. Lee is like, yo, just be fine with this. Like, this is a good life. This is a cushy gig. Just enjoy it. Like, what were you going to do before? Like, you had no prospects after your retirement anyways. Now you can like be here and have a good life. But Lim is still set on his ways. But now he's in a big official's office. He makes himself a DMZ pass to try to like be able to get out. And so very early on, I was a little surprised by this because, he was there like for 2 days and then he's like bouncing. I think he should have waited, maybe got the temperature of the room, figure out a better opportunity. But his like, commanding officer, the person that he is an aide to, is drunk at this event. And so he basically helps him out, throws him in the car and starts driving. And so he's essentially kidnapping a high-ranking official using his DMZ pass to try to get out of the city. Now, he ends up dropping his official off in the countryside somewhere and keeps going, trying to get out of there. But unfortunately for Lim, he didn't plan. He didn't wait. He should have waited a little bit longer. He runs out of gas, gets picked up by some other state agents, but he tells them that he's on like a secret mission. He just forgot to get gas. And like, that's really weird. But they end up escorting him back to his home base because that is where he said his mission is going to be. So he gets to the home base. He tells him that he's on a secret mission and he needs to get the Hyung-Duk, the person that was that was arrested for desertion. He needs to take him with him for his secret mission. And some of them are fairly suspicious, but the officer there is like, supporting him, gives him a car, gives him Hyung-Duk, but then says, you know what, we want to help. So they send some of their soldiers to go with them, which would seem nice, but not for Sergeant Lim because he wants to get out of there. They're driving. It's very suspicious. One of the soldiers like checking to see what's going on with him. And eventually it just gets discovered that Lim, was only there for a day. This is very suspicious. And they end up fighting. And the driver pulls a gun and points it at Lim, but then the driver gets shot from somewhere not nearby, like somewhere far away, like a sniper shot. The car pulls over, it tumbled over, and that is when a whole bunch of gunfire pops out, and you see that Lee, this field officer Lee, is there with a whole host of soldiers shooting at the car. Now, Lim and Hyung-Duk are okay, but they are kind of pinned. So Lim takes some blood, puts it over his face, and after the soldiers stop shooting, he like falls over to make it look like he's dead. The soldiers see this, they get in their cars to go check on him, and that's when Lim runs, grabs the map that he's been making to get the escape, and then starts going. They run. They're pursued by these jeeps shooting at them. I don't know how they don't get hit. They should have gotten hit, but they run and they jump into a river. That river is in like the middle of a ravine, so they can't be followed. They wake up further down the ravine. They seem like they're okay, but they get captured by rebels who are going to kill them because they are in like officer uniform. They're in military uniforms. They look like they are part of the military. But Hyung-Duk says that he was in prison at wherever his base was. And one of them asks if he knows one of their people that was captured there. And at first he doesn't know, but then he says, that there was someone there who was mumbling, who had like bushy hair, and they think that that's him. So They spare their lives. They spare Lim and Hyung-duk's life, and they help them plan to try to break out their friend. And I was like, okay, this will be interesting. There'll be like a night assault. There's no night assault. You don't get that because that night, so Lee is back with more officers. They come and are searching the woods, and they find the rebels. Now, it looks like they are about to come and like overrun the rebels, but that is when Lim out over on the other side of the area, shoots in the air to try to get their attention and draws the soldiers to him. He and Dong-hyuk run. Dong-hyuk is shot in the leg during this, but they're trying to escape. They're limping. I don't know why. Lim is still dragging along Dong-hyuk. He kind of got him in the situation at the first place, and he keeps bringing him back, and he keeps being a burden to him. But he still is. He still helps him. And as they are about to be overrun by the soldiers, the rebels open fire as well and take out some of the soldiers, draw their attention. The soldiers go after them, and Lim and Dong-hyuk are able to escape. So now that they're able to escape, they go back to the base and they're getting ready to try to leave. They know the route, they know what they're going to do. And this was another really weird scene. Again, Dong-hyuk seems like a major burden. I don't know why Lim kept him around, but they were walking and Dong-hyuk just like slipped. They're like walking in a hill. It's raining. It's night. It's the perfect cover for them. And Dong-hyuk just slips and like falls into the base. He falls into the base, and there is a platoon of soldiers all there, ready to go, like looking at him. And you're like, oh God, like that's not going to be good. I don't know. I think the soldiers maybe recognized him, maybe wanted to help him out. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure why, but they threw a helmet on him, ushered him into the ranks, and he is now part of those ranks. And we see that that Lee is there, and he's telling them that there are deserters in their ranks, and they have to go search for them. So they're searching the entire base. And while they're searching, Lim and Dong-hyuk get into like the mess hall, which is where their whole plan starts. And again, another like weird bumbling move. I think Lim did this. I'm not sure. He like runs and like jumps to try to get onto a grate, open a grate that they use to escape, and he just like slams into some cabinets with like dishes on it and causes a commotion, which alerts everyone that they're there. Again, just be a little quieter, be a little bit less bumbling. It would have been much better. Everyone alerts to this building. They start like trying to get in there. And when they do finally break in, Lim and Dong-hyuk aren't there. But the vent that they left from is open. Like, why didn't they just close the vent? They should have just closed it. So now they are discovered. They know where they're going, and everyone is pursuing them. But they have a head start. Now, they eventually get to the gate, and Lim goes right under his little tunnel and gets out of the military base. Dong-hyuk, for some reason, again, doesn't follow him. He like gets lost or something, even though they're like right next to each other. He like can't find the tunnel. He's like trying to get in but can't find it, and he gets discovered. Now, he also sees when there's light happening, like there's a spotlight that shines, and he sees a like necklace. He goes for that necklace, grabs it, and gets shot. And again, I'm like, oh, come on, Lim, like just leave him, go. But Lim is too good. He goes back in, tries to help him, tries to pull him out. Dong-hyuk gives him this necklace, says, give this to my mother, and that's when he gets shot again, and he's dead. Now, Lim is able to shoot out the light. So the sniper, who is Lee, again, the super agent Lee, is the sniper sniping at them. He can't see them anymore, and Lim starts running. Now, as he's running out, he gets out of the base, and he's running through a field, and a bunch of spotlights shine on him. And this is a really great scene. Just like, it's night, it's dark, it's raining, there's these lights on him, and you can kind of see him in there. And Lee, the sniper, is taking aim to shoot him. He shoots and like hits nearby. And that is when Lim starts shooting out the lights. And he's apparently a really great shot, because it's like bam, 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 gets all three lights. But in the process, Lee seems to shoot him. It's a weird scene because Lee shoots where he should be, now that he can't see, and it seems to hit him. But there's no effects. I was expecting him to like crawl away or something, but there was no blood, there was no nothing. He seems to be okay. So I don't know if he just like went down because of the impact, or like went down because a bullet whizzed by him. But Lee is shooting in the area, and during this he hits the compass that Lim was using to kind of try to navigate south. Now that he's out of the base, he just has to go south. That's all he's got to do. Well, he doesn't have a compass now, so he's not sure which direction is south. It's night, it's late, it's dark, it's raining. What is he going to do? He doesn't get killed, but he needs to figure out where to go. He pulls out a radio that he has, which has like a very slight signal, but he gets a signal from South Korea, and he starts pointing it in a direction, and eventually it gets a stronger signal. So he knows that that is where he's got to go. So he starts heading south. Now he gets to a spot where there are mines, and he doesn't have his map. He doesn't have time to do this. So he just says, you know what? I'm going to die on my own terms. Like, I'm either going to get out of here or die on my own terms. And he just starts running. Lee and some officers are behind him. So they follow. And as soon as one of the officers like steps in there, he blows up and blows his leg off. So seems very dangerous. Seems like Lim was very lucky. And he is running, running, running. He has to go through some quicksand, which is a dramatic scene because he gets like pulled under, but he's able to pull himself out. And he finally makes it to the demarcation line. So he gets there. He has made it. He's almost at the border. He sees some South Korean soldiers over on the horizon. He's about to yell out to them, but then there's a gun on the back of his head. And wouldn't you know it, Lee is there. And again, this was like another superhero moment. Like Lee seems to always be able to get to him randomly, like right at the same rate. And I don't know how he was able to because Lim was running full speed, like didn't get blown up. Lee didn't get blown up. He went through the quicksand. Lee is not covered in mud. He somehow was able to go around it. Again, it makes for an exciting antagonist, but Lee has a gun to his head. And his friend says, do you think the South is a paradise that just lets you in knowing where you come from? And Lim says essentially like, I might fail, but at least I'll be failing on my own terms. At least I'll be failing doing what I want to do. And his friend says like, do you think there aren't things that I want to do? This is about living. Struggling is futile. And that is a reference to like some of the things that we learned about Lee. Lee apparently is a great pianist, but he wasn't able to do that. I guess maybe there's no appetite for pianists in North Korea, so he became a high-ranking officer. Lee is also apparently gay. He had a lover at his piano school who we see briefly throughout, and I guess that also is probably not allowed, so he can't do that also. So Lee understands, Lim's ideas. He wants to like Lim's desire to be free to do what he wants, but Lee is part of the system, and he realizes that he can't do those things, so he has to be part of the system. Well, Lim doesn't want to accept that. He basically says, I'll find out if struggling is futile on my own. Lim also has his foot on the mine. That was one of the things that happened when he was going through this, when he was about to go to the border, he stepped on a mine. And so he has his foot on a mine. He says essentially like, I'll find out if it's true by myself. And he steps off the mine. And it doesn't go off. So it seems like everything's great. Well, no, because there's still a gun to his head. Lee and Lim fight. They beat each other up a little bit. Lee punches him a bunch, and then Lim finally gets a good shot at Lee, and Lee just goes down. It seems like he probably doesn't get that much physical contact, so he goes down. Lim starts running. I don't know. I mean, I guess he didn't want to shoot his friend. They are old friends. But Lim starts running to the border. He gets close, but then Lee aims and shoots him in like the leg. Lim is still struggling, still going. He gets to the border tunnel. It's like a long tunnel, a long dark tunnel. We can see the other side. You can see the light on the other side. He's going, he's struggling through. And Lee gets to the tunnel and shoots him again, like in the shoulder. So now Lim falls down. He is like inches from the border. He reaches out his hand and his fingertips are like that far away from the border. So he's trying to get there. Lee comes up behind him with a gun to him. He's right behind him. Lim is like struggling, trying to get to the border, just like trying to eke it out. And that's when a bunch of lights turn on and we see South Korean soldiers on the other side of the border telling Lee to stop, that he's violating a NATO treaty, I think, or something like that. And that, if he shoots, then they'll be forced to shoot him. Lee just basically like puts his gun away, walks out. The soldiers come around Lim. They say, do you want to defect? And you're not sure if Lim can actually do this because he is in pain, but he looks at them and says essentially like, yes, I want to defect. And so they carry him across the border and presumably patch him up. Now, when we go back to that room where the trial happened for Lim and Hyung-Duk, long time ago, Lee is in there with all of the evidence, and he picks up a book that was in the possession of the defector. I forget what the book is, but inside, it's inscribed with something that basically says, like, fear a meaningless life, not a worthless death, signed Piano Bro. So that was a book that Lee gave to Lim with an inscription from him, and that is clearly something that was part of the evidence. That's something that Lee knew what it was. So he knew that his friend was part of this plot the whole time. But I think he also liked the quote. Like, the quote is very appropriate to what is happening. Like, fear a meaningless life, not a worthless death. Well, Lim is not going to have a meaningless life. Hopefully, we'll find out. So we see 1 year later, Lim visits Dong-Hyuk's mother and is telling her stories about him, about like, how great of a soldier he is and whatnot. And then she says something about him that implies that he's alive. And I don't think Lim can do it. I don't think Lim can tell her that he isn't alive. So he basically just like agrees and smiles. He like gives her he gives his mother the hope that he is still alive and still doing well. And then we see that Lim is also doing well in South Korea. He is listening to a podcast that is reading a letter that sounds like it was written by him about his struggle. We find out that he has a proposal for some sort of like youth travel initiative that was approved by the South Korean government. So Lim is forging his own path. He is doing what he wants, and he has made it out. So that is Escape. Like I said, I definitely think you should check it out. I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was fun. It was entertaining. It was exciting. So definitely see it. And if you do watch it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.